Welcome back, Joyful Wife. In our last video, we talked about how your husband's silence doesn't necessarily mean what you think it is. Today, we're going to dive into another area where wives often feel unloved, and that's with the way our husbands and the way we receive love from each other. For years, I was convinced that my husband didn't really know how to love me well. I wanted him to plan trips and dates, to take the time to research, to surprise me, but he rarely did that on his own. I wanted him to tell me that I looked pretty, to notice when I got dressed up, when I did my hair, makeup, or when I wore something special, but often he didn't say anything to me. I wanted those romantic surprises, the love notes, the gestures, but it's not really his style. I wanted him to tell me that he appreciated the things that I did for him and for our family, but he really rarely said those words. I wanted that deep emotional conversation where we talked about our feelings and our relationship, but at that time, he really wasn't verbal in that kind of way. In my mind, I was giving him a failing grade in the department of how to love your wife. I would see other husbands planning elaborate trips and complimenting their wives on social media posts. And I would think, why doesn't my husband do that for me? Does he not love me? It made me feel unseen, unappreciated, and unloved. But here's what I completely missed. Every day he worked hard to provide for our family. He never complained about the stress or the sacrifice. I thought, well, that's his job. When something broke, he would fix it without always being asked about it. And I thought, well, that's just what people do. If his friends invited him somewhere, he would always think about me. He would always come to me and ask, like, do you want to go? And I thought he was just being polite. He was physically affectionate. He'd reach for my hand, put his arm around me. He would kiss me goodbye. And I dismissed that as that's just what you do. I was so busy looking for love in my language that I completely missed he was giving me love in his language. So you've probably heard of Dr. Gary Chapman's 5 love languages. If not, here's just a super quick, and I mean quick version of what it is. Words of affirmation. It's verbal compliments, appreciation, encouragement, I love you. The second is quality time, undivided attention, meaningful conversation, shared activities. The third is receiving gifts, thoughtful presents, surprises, tokens of affection. Fourth is acts of services. It's doing things for someone else, serving someone else. You're doing things to help, handling tasks, problem solving. And then the fifth is physical touch, which could be hugs, kisses, hand holding, physical affection, intimacy. And don't miss this. We tend to give love to our spouse in the same love language that we receive that love. So if your primary love language is words of affirmation, you're probably telling your husband constantly how much you appreciate him, how great he is, how proud of him you are. And most likely you expect him to do the same for you. But if his love language is, say, acts of service, he's showing you by doing things for you, by fixing things, by providing, by problem solving, by taking care of things. You're both loving, you're trying to love each other. You're both putting in the effort, but you're speaking different love languages, so you're both feeling unloved. While every man is unique, there are some common ways that I have noticed with the wives that I've worked with that their husbands show love that wives often overlook. They provide. He works hard to support his family financially, make sure that bills are paid. He ensures there's food on the table and a roof over our head. To him, provision is love. I'm sacrificing my time and energy to take care of my family. But to some of us wives, it might feel like that's just his job. That's not loving me, but it is loving you. It's just not romantic, so you don't count it. Maybe your husband is the protector. He makes sure you're safe. He checks the house at night. He walks you to the car in a dark parking lot. He maintains your vehicle. He handles potentially dangerous situations. To him, protection is love. I'm keeping my family safe. But to you, it might feel like that's just being responsible. But he's being responsible for you and your family because he loves you. Maybe you have a husband that they like to fix and solve things. So when something breaks, he fixes it. When you have a problem, he offers solutions. When you're stressed, he tries to remove those obstacles. To him, problem solving is love. I'm making her life easier. But to some wives, it might feel like he's not listening to my feelings. He's just trying to fix everything, but he's trying to fix things because he loves you and he doesn't want you to struggle. Then you may have some husbands where they want to share their space with you. He wants you with him, whether he's watching TV, working on a project, running errands, or just sitting in the same room. Your presence matters to him. To him, including you is love. I want her near me. But to some wives, it may feel like that's not even quality time. We're just sitting in the same room. But again, to him, being together is quality time, even without constant conversation. Then you have some husbands that they show physical affection. Maybe he reaches for your hand, he puts his arm around you, he initiates intimacy, he hugs you when he comes home. To him, that physical connection is love. I'm drawn to her. I want to be close to her. But for some wives, especially if physical affection isn't your love language and you have children, you've been touched all day, you're like, I don't feel like being touched. That's all he wants. But physical touch is how he connects and expresses love. It's not just about sex. So let me tell you about a previous client of mine who's given me permission to share this story. Her name is Michelle, and her story just helped me to further see that I was seeing this pattern. Her primary love language is words of affirmation. She needed to hear that appreciation, the compliments, the verbal affection. But her husband's primary love language is physical touch. He showed love through affection, holding her hand, hugging her, being physically close to her. But for years, Michelle felt unloved because he wasn't verbal. He rarely said, I love you, or you're beautiful, or thank you for all you do. And her husband was feeling unloved because she would pull away from his physical affection, saying things like, not now, or I'm busy. They were both trying to love each other, but they were speaking completely different love languages. Michelle would do acts of service for him, like cooking special meals, doing his laundry, organizing the space that he used, hoping he'd verbally appreciate her efforts. And instead, he would reach for her hand and try to cuddle on the couch and initiate that physical closeness, hoping she'd reciprocate that love. Both of them were feeling very rejected and very unloved. The breakthrough really came for them when they learned about love languages and realized she needed to hear it, he needed to feel it. Once they understood this, everything really shifted in their relationship. She started appreciating his physical affection as his way of saying, I love you, without words. And she made an effort to receive it and reciprocate that love. Once their cups were just a little full, they really started studying each other. And he started to make an effort to say the words she needed to hear. You are beautiful. Thank you for everything you do. I really appreciate you. And within just a few short weeks, they both were feeling loved by each other more than they had in years. And it's not because they became different people, but because they learned to recognize and speak each other's love languages. So now going back to my marriage, here's some shifts that I had to make, and maybe you need to make them too. I needed to go from, he doesn't love me in the way that I want to be loved, to he does love me. I need to recognize and appreciate how he shows it. This doesn't mean that he's going to pick up your cue and know your love language. You also have to teach them. You really should encourage him to study you and you study him. And you get to stop minimizing or dismissing the love that he's already showing you while you wait for him to learn how to show it differently. So some examples is, instead of saying, he never tells me he loves me, so you're dismissing his actions, try to say, he shows me love by providing for our family, making sure I'm safe, and fixing things when they break, or whatever applies to you. And I appreciate that. And I'd also love to hear the words sometimes. And here's another, instead of telling yourself, all he wants is physical touch, so you're dismissing his love language, try to say physical touch is how he connects with me and expresses love. I can appreciate that while also asking for other expressions of love too. Instead of saying he doesn't plan anything romantic for us, you could say he shows love by wanting to spend time with me, even if it's not fancy or planned. I appreciate that he wants me with him. I can also express that I love a special date sometimes. Do you see the difference? You're acknowledging the love he is showing you while also expressing what else you need. So you're teaching him about you. So here are some simple steps for you to take away from this. Identify his primary love language. Watch how he expresses love to you this week. This usually is his love language, and just write that down. Make a list of 10 ways he showed he loved you this week in his love language. Force yourself to see it. So some examples would be he made sure my car had gas. He took out the trash without being asked. Oh my gosh, that was number one for me when I started recognizing that my husband did do things. Trash was one of them. He always took out the trash. And I learned to be so grateful for that. And it opened my eyes to different ways that he was showing love that I wasn't even looking at because I was so fixed on the thought that he was not showing me the love that I wanted. Maybe he reached for your hand while you were watching TV. Maybe he asked if or if you wanted to run errands with him. Maybe he fixed a leaky faucet. And then thank him for 3 specific things from your list. Be detailed, like, thank you for filling up my car with gas this week. That was really thoughtful and helpful. Another thing is to stop comparing for 1 week. Every time you catch yourself thinking other husbands do X, redirect it and say, my husband shows me love by doing X. Here's probably the most important thing you can do is have a love language conversation. You could tell your husband, I've been learning about love languages and realize yours and mine might be different. What makes you feel most loved? If you go to the website that Dr. Gary Chapman has, they have an actual quiz that you can do for your husband, that you can do for your kids. I love learning about my husband and myself and my son. And it just opens my eyes to how I can be a more loving wife. Now, it didn't always feel like that in the beginning. It wasn't always fun, but it has really changed the way that I look at my marriage. So friend, your husband is definitely showing you love. Maybe not in the way that 90s rom-com show it. Maybe not in the way that your friends' husbands show it. And maybe not in the way that you wish that he would. But he is definitely showing you love in the best way that he knows how. And when you start seeing that love and appreciating it, something beautiful happens. You stop feeling unloved. He stops feeling inadequate. And your marriage becomes warmer and more connected.